We're back with another episode of App Stories. Today's show is brought to you by Raycast. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing really well. We have some announcements before we get to our wish list. We're going to talk about watchOS and tvOS today, but we've got some big news, which is why this episode was delayed by a few hours compared to, kind of normally when I put it up on the web.
Yeah, we have two brand new podcasts joining the MacStories family of shows. And we've been working on this for quite some time, and I am incredibly excited to launch this today. And the first episodes are going to be out later this week. We're going to talk about this shortly. But today, we are introducing two new shows. The first one is called Comfort Zone. And it's a weekly show hosted by Nilean Dorfer. You may know Nilean. She's been writing at MacStories for quite some time now, along with Chris Lawley and Matt Birchler. Both names should be familiar to the MacStories audience. Chris is a YouTuber with a focus on iPad and productivity. We've been very good friends with Chris for a while now. We've linked to Chris's videos many times before. Chris is a great guy, makes excellent
he really is.
iPad content on YouTube. And Matt also been writing at Birchtree. We've linked to Matt on a variety of occasions on MacStories in the past, and also runs the Better Computer YouTube channel, which I believe just wrapped up season 2 as of a few days ago. And Better Computer is also another excellent YouTube channel with a focus on apps and software, AI tools lately, and just, making the most out of your computer. And of course, Nilean, with her as a European, I'm contractually obligated to say this, with her lovely French accent. I am so glad that there's more European accents on MacStories.
I agree. I think it's wonderful.
Nilean has been doing podcasts, I believe, in French for quite some time, and she's been writing at MacStories for several months now. And the three of them came up with this idea of Comfort Zone as a weekly show where every week they will try to get out of their comfort zones when it comes to technology and try something new. And at the end of each episode, they will also challenge one another to try something else and to really go out of somebody's comfort zone and try whether it's a new device, a new app, or a new service, whatever it is. They approached us with this idea for Comfort Zone a couple of months ago, and I was just so excited about the idea of Nilean, Chris, and Matt hosting a weekly show on MacStories, and so we immediately said yes, because we've been working, as App Stories listeners know, to expand MacStories and bring new voices into the fold, and this felt like a perfect opportunity to have Comfort Zone become a MacStories, part of the MacStories family of podcasts. That's the first one. The second one, which you and we are involved, John, is called NPC, which stands for Next Portable Console, and it's obviously a pun on NPCs in video games, and it's a show about the games we take with us. Specifically, it's a show about portable gaming. It's a show about games that we play on portable devices, handheld gaming, and about the renaissance that the portable space is living right now. I guess starting, with the Nintendo Switch 7 years ago, it started a revolution in terms of where and how people can play games, and starting with the Nintendo Switch and then the Steam Deck and then this new wave of Windows-based PC handhelds, but of course, also the hundreds of retro gaming handhelds that exist. And so, but it's not just you and me. This show, you and we've been talking about this kind of podcast for years, I think.
Oh, it's been a very long time. Yeah.
It's been a very long time, but we always thought, but whenever we're going to do it, we need to have somebody else who's even more tapped than you and into the gaming scene, and specifically into the portable gaming scene. And we had this idea at the beginning of 2024 to try and convince our very good friend Brendon Bigley of the Into the Aether podcast, which is another excellent show about video games. And Brendon has also been writing at wavelengths.online, which you may have seen linked on MacStories a couple of times over the past couple of months. We couldn't think of a better person than Brendon to join us on this new show. So yeah, John, I'll let you also describe sort of what we're doing with NPC.
Sure. NPC is the kind of show that I've wanted to do for a very long time, especially since I think that you and I are kind of in places in our lives where portable gaming makes more sense than
Hmm.
parking ourselves in front of a television or a computer and being tied to those devices. You know, the fact that you can take games with you now and that you have the ability to use anything from playing your old retro games from, the NES or the Game Boy or whatever it happens to be, all the way through kind of console level, PC level games that, if you have the right hardware, are pretty close to the experience of using a dedicated PC or console attached to a TV. And so what we're seeing is kind of this renaissance, as you said, an expansion of the universe of the kinds of games you can play and the quality level at which you can get an experience through different kinds of hardware. And I know Federico's been doing a lot of experiments in this area lately, and that's one of the first topics we're going to be covering in NPC. The first episode is all about, though, our histories with portable gaming. Each of us has come from it from a little bit different perspective. We talk about kind of our earliest consoles that we used, our earliest handhelds, and then where it led us, especially in recent years, because I think things like the pandemic had a big impact on that. And then the Switch had a big impact on that too, going into the pandemic. And now with those retro handhelds coming out of China and companies like Lenovo and Asus and others making Windows PCs that you can take with you too, that have a lot of flexibility and expansion options, that we've really expanded the kind of things that we do. And it's an area where literally once we started organizing this show and talking to Brendon about it, we were daily getting headlines of things that we wanted to talk about, because there's a new one of these handhelds released every couple of days, it feels like. And so there's a lot of hardware to talk about, a lot of just general approaches and philosophies to portable gaming we want to talk about, and how we approach it. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And Brendon is obviously very plugged in and knowledgeable about this area. So it's fantastic to have him along, because he's kind of coming at it from a whole different angle from us, and that makes it a much more interesting show.
Yeah, and of course, Brendon has been doing an excellent job along with Stephen at the Into the Aether podcast, which is, as they describe it, a low-key video game podcast where they talk about games, they talk about actually playing video games. But we felt that there was a space for Brendon, because I knew that Brendon was just as much into handhelds as we are. I thought there was a space for Brendon to really expand and talk more about the hardware and sort of the actual devices that we're using and how this scene is so rapidly changing. So that's what we're going to do with NPC. Now, let me give our listeners a few technical details about these new shows, John.
Okay.
So all of our podcasts, of course, can be found on the Apple Podcasts MacStories channel, or if you want to use the website, you can go to macstories.net/podcasts, and you will find all of the shows that are part of our family of podcasts. Specifically, if you want to find details and links for Comfort Zone, you can go to macstories.net/Comfort Zone, and you will find all the links to subscribe to the RSS feed. I believe at the moment, Apple Podcasts, we're going through the approval process as this episode is going out. Hopefully that will be done soon, but the RSS feed is up, validated, and working, and you can use it to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. For NPC, you can go to macstories.net/NPC, and it's the same deal. You will find the RSS link that you can use. At the moment, there's a trailer for both shows in the feed, so you can use that feed to subscribe, listen to the trailer. Now, the episodes. Comfort Zone will be a weekly show, and there will be an audio version, and for the first time for MacStories, a video version on the MacStories YouTube channel. Both versions will be out every Thursday. And again, you will find the links in the show notes, just like what we do with App Stories and Unwind. NPC will be released every 2 weeks on Tuesday. So it's going to alternate with Ruminate, which is the other podcast that John does with Rob Knight. This means that with this roster of shows, we have now filled Monday to Friday on MacStories with a new episode from our family of shows every day, with App Stories, Ruminate, and NPC alternating each week, Magic Rays of Light on Wednesday, Comfort Zone and Unwind Plus on Thursday, and of course the regular version of Unwind on Friday. So that's a full-on calendar of MacStories shows that you can listen every day if you feel like, and I think they're all excellent shows, diverse, each in its own right. And once again, to find them all, you can go to macstories.net/podcasts.
Yeah, it was really funny because we were in the process of organizing NPC when Comfort Zone came along, and it was the perfect time because it helped fill out that calendar. It also is perfectly in, I think, the sweet spot for MacStories in terms of the topic, which is, you and I talk about it a lot, getting out of your comfort zone, trying something new and what that leads to. And that is a perfect fit with MacStories. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that. I've listened to the first episode and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be, I think it works perfectly as a weekly show. It's going to be interesting to follow along. And I think play along. I think people who listen to that show can kind of participate in the challenges and figure out for themselves how these things work for them, which I think is part of the learning process and a good way to do a show and get the people who are listening involved in the experience as well.
Yeah, a couple more things I want to shout out. The art for NPC was done by Brendon himself. So Brendon Bigley did the incredible Game Boy package style art for NPC. Whereas the art for Comfort Zone was created, it's an illustration created by an actual human, not AI, of course. It was created by Scout Wilkinson. Scout has been incredible to work with, and Scout did a lot of different artworks for Into the Aether before, and thanks to Brendon, we got to know Scout, and we wanted to have an illustration showing the three hosts physically reaching out of their comfort zones in the art,
right.
and I think Scout absolutely delivered. Whereas the music for both NPC and Comfort Zone was done by the incredible and talented musician Will Laporte. You will find links to both Scout's work and Will's work in the show notes. I just love the two different vibes that Will used for NPC. NPC, the way that I described the music, I believe, was indie rock meets Fez sort of vibe. That's what reminds me of. Whereas the music that Will did for Comfort Zone is this like very 80s synth style chill lounge vibe. I love it. So have a listen to both and go check out Scout's and Will's work at their personal portfolios.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Raycast. Your Mac, but better. Why is it better? Because with the tap of a hotkey, you have access to a powerful set of productivity tools within an extensible launcher. It's fast, ergonomic, and reliable. Raycast ships with the tools macOS should have built in, but doesn't. The app's clipboard history means you'll never forget anything important. Raycast makes it simple to express yourself with fast emoji and GIF search tools, perform quick math calculations, currency and unit conversions, time differences, and more. With a vibrant community of developers creating extensions for Raycast, there's a tool for almost anything you can imagine. Flight tracking, note-taking, saving tasks to your favorite task manager, searching files, running scripts, kicking off shortcuts, translating text, managing your windows, and a whole lot more. Stop switching contexts for all of those little things that you do throughout the day. Reduce distractions and speed up interactions with your Mac. Download Raycast and use it for free, or go pro and harness the power of AI. Theme Raycast and sync your setup across multiple Macs. Raycast is a natural way to use AI. Just type a query into Raycast and get your answer. It's an always-on window into ChatGPT to help you with coding, writing email, automating repetitive tasks, and more. It's a fantastic deal that comes out to just $8 a month when you pay for an annual plan. Just go to ray.so/appstories to learn more and sign up. Again, that URL is ray.so/appstories. There'll be a link in the show notes, too. Our thanks to Raycast for their support of App Stories. All right, Federico, let's dive into these wish lists because we've got a couple left. We've got watchOS, of course, and tvOS. But I thought we would start with watchOS because, I don't know. I mean, this is one I have been using my watch a lot lately because I'm, kind of that runner guy. I like to go out and I got to go for walks, go for runs. To me, it's a fitness device more than anything else, first and foremost. Although during the workday, I guess it's a notification device. But because it's funny, when I'm charging it, I'm like, sometimes I put my watch on after charging it up. I'm like, oh, I just missed a whole bunch of messages because I don't have messages coming into very many places. The watch is kind of my hub for that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, I've been thinking about the watch, and so I'm just going to jump right in. I think what I would like the watch to be for me is more of an assistant. I think over the past few months, seeing these AI, quote unquote, AI first devices like the AI pin and the Rabbit R1, and there's a whole footnote about the Rabbit R1 not actually really being AI, but something else. But I digress. The concept behind those devices is what intrigues me. Like, you have, in theory, a large language model always with you and on you. And I think what I would like to see from watchOS, but maybe this will have to wait for actually the next watch model. I'm just going to mention it in terms of software. What I would love to see is a much better Siri based on a large language model that can actually be an assistant on my watch to give me answers on the watch and allow me to use my phone less. I want to be able to talk to a version of Siri that is much faster, much more intelligent, and much more free from the shackles of the phone. I'm tired of asking something to Siri on the watch and being given an answer along the lines of, you can check your iPhone for that. Like, I just want to do it all on the watch. I want to be able to go out with my cellular watch, ask a question, send a message, interact with an app, and not be told you need to use your iPhone for that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. However, I think ironically that if we got something like this, the watch would be tethered even more to the phone than it is today, because I have a hard time believing that you can get a large language model small enough that it'll really fit on the watch in a way that makes
maybe
it
there
useful.
could be, maybe there could be whatever. So all these companies like Meta and Google
On the cloud, right?
There's the cloud, but there's also like all these companies. They always make mini or nano versions of the large language model. Like Google has Gemini Nano, for example, and I couldn't imagine like Siri AI Mini or Siri AI Nano, which is a smaller version of the large language model that can be on the watch. And then there's the, all the others. And maybe that version doesn't actually interact with apps as Siri on iOS 18 is rumored to be capable of. Maybe there's like, it can do less, but it can still answer your questions and commands more and much better than it does today.
Yeah, and I suppose if you tune it to particular use cases, that might actually help trim the size of it as well. But I think it's a good idea, because the thing about the watch to me has something in common with the Vision Pro, which is you don't really want to be typing on it any more than you want to be typing on the Vision Pro.
Yes.
Vision Pro, at least you can have a keyboard connected that works, just like a laptop keyboard. However, the experience, I think, is best when you're using gestures on the Vision Pro and your voice. And I think we talked about this with Vision Pro. I think it's equally true with the watch, is that the more you can do with Siri with voice commands, the better the experience is. I do find that the keyboard that they have now is quite good. I mean, I do, like, I'll be out for one of those runs sometimes, and I will usually dictate a response to somebody. If I'm answering, I shouldn't be answering text messages when I'm out running, I know, but I do sometimes, or when I'm out for a walk. And sometimes I will go to the keyboard, and it works quite well. But yeah, I think it would be better if you could not only just type and dictate with your voice or with a keyboard, but if you could do more in terms of the commands and getting information and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I also think we both want better shortcuts integration
Yes,
on
I
the
saw
watch.
that. We both wrote the same thing in different parts of this list.
Yeah, I would love to use my shortcuts more on the watch, but there's a few problems there. The first one is performance. So of course, running a shortcut on the watch needs to be much faster than it is now. And the second is like it needs to be more reliable. It needs to be
That's the problem, biggest
it
problem.
needs it's right now they're slow, buggy, sometimes they don't do anything. There needs to be a better app compatibility story there. Like if I create a shortcut on my phone, it should also work on the watch. I shouldn't be told, oh, this thing you cannot do on watchOS because there's no equivalent action support in watchOS for something that you're doing in
Right.
shortcuts on your phone. Like I should be able to have my shortcuts from the phone show up as the same ones with the same capabilities on the watch, just with different interactions, of course.
This might be a place where the AI comes in, especially the rumors that, apps are going to be controllable by Siri, which to me would go a long way to making automation on the watch more reliable. I mean, more useful, I should say. Whether it's reliable or not, who knows? But more useful because then you could use your voice to do things with the watch that you couldn't do otherwise. Right now, Siri and the shortcuts don't work very well at all as it is. I mean, I think shortcuts they just fail too often. And so I rarely use shortcuts on my watch. I don't know about you, but it's just not something I use very often.
All right, yeah. So in addition to shortcuts, and while we're still on the topic of Siri and AI, this is something that is being rumored at the moment for iOS 18, and it's actually something that we originally discussed on our wishlist episode before the rumors. So the idea of AI-based summaries of notifications.
Right.
I would also love to see this on the watch, like a way for the AI to summarize notifications for me so that I don't have to scroll this long list of notifications on my watch, which I still continue to find that design so clunky, like the way that you need to scroll up, but the clear button is at the bottom. So like if you want to see your older notifications, you need to scroll up. And then if you want to clear them all, you need to scroll back to the bottom again, which is an interaction that I don't understand. But yeah, I would love to have those summaries also on the watch, and maybe a way for the AI to also understand, hey, maybe like these notifications you never interact with, maybe it's something that you can turn off. So like something more proactive in that sense, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'd like to see more contextual action button support. And what I'm thinking about here, I would combine this with presence. You and I have talked about presence in the past, probably most often in connection with the Home app, where I think it makes a lot of sense. Where what I'm thinking of is with the Apple Watch Ultra, the ability to move through my house, and when I'm in my office, the action button would automatically be tied to the lights in my office, for instance. Or if I was in my bedroom, it would be my bedside table. That sort of thing, which is, when you say it, it's like, oh, that's pretty simple. But it would be so useful to have this action button change depending on the context, where I am in my house, if I'm not at home, that kind of thing, or what I'm doing. Like, for instance, maybe I start a workout and the action button switches from maybe being something that I use to add tasks to being something that I use to start the workout, or then play music once the workout has already begun. Just giving me more ways to use the action button based on what I'm doing in my day.
Yeah, I agree. That would be lovely. Obviously, given that we are getting a calculator app on the iPad this year, it seems, I would also love to see a calculator on the watch.
I have never thought about this, but it's a really good idea, because if they use the swipe gestures, I think it would work really well.
There's pCalc on the watch that
Sure.
I've used in the past, like at the grocery store to run quick calculations or whatever. It's fine. I think there should be on the watch too. And I'm just going to go ahead and say these two things that I don't think they're going to happen, but I'm still going to mention them. Obviously, the first one, I don't think we need to talk about it a lot. Third-party watch faces. This comes up every year.
Wishing for this.
I just need to mention it because eventually it'll come true, I hope.
Maybe.
I don't think there's anything more to say. Just let third-party developers design watch faces, Apple, please. The second one is something that I thought about more recently is I would love to have real-time complications on my watch face. Like complications that can animate and show me data in real time. Imagine like how, for example, you can have like the clock. Even with the always on display, it refreshes every second at 1 hertz, right? Because you're getting the clock hands moving every second. I would love developers to be able to also have real-time complications. That maybe, and I don't know what they could do, like a third-party timer, like I'm imagining a time tracking utility like Timery, for example. A Pomodoro timer would also be a cool idea, but like just a way for developers to be able, if they want to have essentially like a miniaturized version of a live activity that is a complication that can refresh every second, just like the clock can refresh every second.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I had never really thought about that, but having the concept of miniaturized widgets or live activities is kind of a cool one. Okay, Federico, we are also going to talk about tvOS, but before we begin our wishes, I would like to point everybody out to Magic Rays of Light, because Sigmund Judge and Devin Dundee just did an episode of that show with some very detailed wishes, like really down to some interesting technical details about how video and audio are routed and all sorts of other things, both with the UI and the feature set of tvOS and the TV app itself, that they would like to see changed. And it's a very good conversation about that I would suggest everybody take a listen to. Federico and I think we're much simpler tvOS people.
Yes.
we don't I don't know about you, Federico, but I literally sit down, I turn it on, and I just kind of flip around until I find something I want to watch, and then I watch it. It's probably the Apple platform that I spend the least amount of time actually thinking about how it works and how it should work better. Instead, it's usually just end of the day, my brain is turned off and I'm just watching TV.
Yes, I also do that. So I don't have any particular wishes, but I'm still going to mention a couple that I have. The first one is I want to have a more exciting tvOS home screen. And I think there may be an opportunity for certain types of apps to be able to offer widgets on the tvOS home screen. Like imagine a weather widget on your home screen that when you turn on the TV at night because you want to watch something with your partner or your kids, and you see, oh, rain is coming up tomorrow morning. And so maybe that becomes a new avenue for an app to tell you important data. Or like a package tracking app, and when you turn on before watching Netflix, you see, oh, my game controller is actually being delivered in the afternoon. Something like that, Like widgets. I mean, we know widgets. We like widgets, and they should be everywhere. And tvOS, of course, unlike the HomePod, has a UI, has a screen, so why not? And my other thing was, I would like to have a more customizable For You page in the TV app. Just let me rearrange stuff. Let me pin maybe specific sections or specific shows. Let me turn off the ads for the promotional Apple TV Plus content. Just let me customize it. And I would love to have, when I'm watching something, maybe this could be just Apple TV Plus content, which will be fine, but like a feature that is similar to Amazon's X-Ray.
Oh, so sure,
X-Ray is this feature that you can use in Kindle and in the Amazon Prime content, as well as, of course, the Fire TV devices, where you pause playback, or if you're reading a book, you pause reading, and the software can give you more information about like a particular show or a particular scene, like the actors, the music, the location, the director. I would love to have this sort of metadata integrated with Apple TV Plus content in the TV app. Let me pause, and maybe this could be AI, I don't know. But let me pause and let me look up quickly, like, hey, who's this guy? Like, who's this actor? Or who's the director of this movie? Which other movies have been made by this director? And maybe as I'm looking it up, let me quickly save that movie to my watch queue without pausing what I'm watching, right? So it becomes a way to engage with the content more, but also to keep watching content, because all that metadata, of course, is in service of helping you discover more content that you can watch later. And so this is my simpleton idea for a tvOS feature.
No, those are great. And I have something similar to both of those. I had the concept not so much of widgets, but a your day type of app. And I
Mhm.
could see this being done either way, either the way you described or as an actual standalone app that was kind of like, maybe you get up in the morning and you flip on the TV and there it's showing you a summary of your calendar, the day's weather, some news headlines, some links to maybe an Apple Music playlist, that sort of thing. Because I think one of the things that Apple doesn't do a good job with the tvOS is making it indispensable to your throughout your day, which,
Mhm.
to my mind, I don't really have the Apple TV on unless I'm watching television. But if they gave you a reason that was more a little bit along the lines of, one of the Echo shows or something like that, where you would just turn on your TV and your TV would become an interface into some of the things that are on your phone or wherever they otherwise happen to be. I think that both makes the TV, that both makes the Apple TV
Mm.
more valuable to you and probably pulls you in more often
Yeah,
to, oh, maybe I'll just sit down and watch a quick YouTube video or I'll watch this
yeah,
show on Apple TV, right? So that sort of integration, I think, both makes sense from a user standpoint of making that stuff available in a part of your day when maybe you don't have your phone out, but also is probably a good business decision from
yeah.
Apple's perspective as well.
I just had a galaxy brain idea that I
What's
need to
that?
share with you. Okay. So think about how most people with their Apple TVs, they have 32 gigs of storage, or somebody even 64 gigs of storage, and
Right.
they never use it, right? So keep this in mind, all right? Put a pin in this. Then think of how it's been rumored right now that for these AI features that Apple is going to do, some of the processing is going to happen on the phone, but for storage constraints and processing constraints, some of it is going to be in the cloud. Okay? So also put a pin in this.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine if that storage in an Apple TV could be used to cache a large language model, and instead of going out to the cloud, you know how sort of like macOS can act as a caching server in your local network for
Yes.
software updates?
Yep.
Imagine if an Apple TV could act as a caching server for the large language model.
I like it. That's very good. It's a little bit like how a HomeKit hub works too, in a way.
In a way, yeah. Imagine if because Apple can do this, right? They have secure communications. I mean, gosh, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this is exactly what Apple Wireless Direct Link could be useful for.
Oh,
AWDL, the infamous technology we've covered many times
right,
recently.
right.
But this is the kind of stuff that Apple could do with secure wireless communication, high-speed wireless communications between devices in the local network. I just thought of this as you were talking about like the Your Day app and this idea of like, maybe there's like some AI features. And
Yeah.
then I thought, well, Apple TVs, they have all, like, I know that on my two Apple TVs, the storage is basically unused. So why not find a good use case for it as a caching server for the LLM? I don't know.
I like
Just,
it. I like
yeah.
it. That's really good. And they've got more and more processing power these days too,
Mhm.
because so you could maybe even, distribute the compute power too across multiple devices. And
Especially if your TV is turned off and like literally
right.
the Apple TV is doing nothing at the moment, like just throw all of the resources for like 5 seconds to the large language model and use it to provide responses locally instead of going out to the cloud. I don't know. Could be an idea.
Yeah. Then on the other hand, Federico, my TV now turns itself on randomly throughout the day because I think
That's
something is
another
happening
that's
on the
another
Apple
problem.
TV.
That's because HDMI is the devil. That is
I know. I know. But
I
Jennifer keeps telling me, she goes, the TV's on again. I'm like, I don't know what to do. There's nothing I can do about it.
I hate HDMI so much sometimes. We're gonna talk about my new eGPU setup on MPC very very soon. But the moment I realized I wanted to get away from HDMI as much as possible,
Yeah.
long story short, I am now using two DisplayPort ports in my eGPU because I don't trust HDMI, and DisplayPort is the superior connector. But I digress. That's a different topic. Yeah,
that is a different topic. But yes, I can imagine the large language model doing some sort of computing and turning my TV onto the screensaver automatically. But that's for the engineers to figure out. But I think your idea is a really good one. I have just a couple of more things that I want to mention. One is, I would like to see better recommendations in general across tvOS. And this is a little bit like your X-ray idea, but I was thinking about it not so much from inside a particular show, but across the OS in terms of coming up with movies and TV shows that you might want to watch and using AI and applying AI to that so that maybe that's a way for Apple to maybe get around Netflix in a way and their reluctance to be part of the TV app. I don't know. Or, they work with third parties with some of these databases to give you recommendations based on what you've watched in the past. Because even if Netflix isn't participating in the TV app, Apple has the data of what you've watched in those other apps to use to apply to recommendations. And obviously, you would want to opt into that. That would be something from a privacy standpoint you'd want users to be able to turn off if they want. But I would like to have recommendations based on what I watch, not just on Netflix, but YouTube and every other video app that I'm using on the Apple TV. All right, Federico, I have two other smaller things. One is I would like to have an Apple Music screensaver. I would like right? I would like to pick a playlist or a radio station or an album, whatever it happens to be, as kind of my default so that when the screensaver kicks in, the music begins to play. And it does something very old school. It uses the music visualizer, which is still on the Mac. And, you have neat visualizations of your music. I would love to see that come to the Apple TV. I love the screensavers that are there, but, some variety and different things would be kind of nice too, especially with, I just like to have music. I'm a person who likes to have music in the background more than I like to have TV running in the background. And so building that into a screensaver would be perfect for that use case. And then finally, I would like to see Apple adopt some sort of launcher system with tvOS. And I'm thinking about, in particular, some of the emulators that we're seeing come to tvOS and an ability to create like those one-action shortcuts to open up a video game that would be on the home screen of tvOS and allow you to launch those games locally, or even integration with third-party consoles like the PS5 and the Xbox, where you could designate, you would basically import an index of what your games are on those systems and create a shortcut, not in the shortcuts, app shortcuts sense of it, but a shortcut that would allow you to select an icon for that game and kick you over to your PS5 and play a game that way. I mean, I think that making the Apple TV more of a hub would make it more valuable both to users and to Apple. And this is a way to do it because, video games, other than the ones that you can download from the App Store, are siloed off from the TV to the tvOS today.
Yeah.
All right, Federico, that is a good conversation. Everybody, don't forget, go out and give Comfort Zone and NPC a try. They're two brand new shows. I think you're going to enjoy them. As Federico said, you can go to MacStories.net/podcasts to see those shows as well as all of our others and subscribe there. And of course, you can always find me and Federico over at MacStories.net too, writing away. We are on Mastodon. Just go to Viticci.MacStories.net and JohnVorhees.MacStories.net to follow us there. Federico is on Threads and Instagram. He's at Viticci. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHEES. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.